Welcome, everyone. My name is Loch Kelly, and I'm really happy to be here today to talk about and hopefully share some practical glimpses about the topic for today, which is effortless mindfulness. So many of you have heard of mindfulness. Certainly, it's an ancient wisdom tradition that has now become a more modern, acceptable, and scientifically studied type of meditation. But there are different kinds of mindfulness. And I had the good fortune of starting by studying many different traditions, both from Zen. When I first started reading, I was actually playing sports and was describing how I was in the zone, feeling connected with everyone and everything, and kind of responding in a way that was easy and fluid and optimally functioning and felt joyous. And somebody who was older than me on the team I was on threw me a book and said, "Here, kid, read this." And it was Zen and the Art of Archery. So that took me into this world of there's something else going on here. Because when I read that, I thought, wow, this is exactly what I experienced. And what is this other thing, Zen? And what are they talking about, meditation? And you mean you can actually access this, not just in the sport where it seemed to arise, and there's some other dimensions to it that are more open-hearted and everyday. So that led me to be interested, and I went on to study some and sit with some Zen retreats, and then ended up going off to Sri Lanka, India, Nepal, studying different traditions there, and even going to graduate school at Union Theological, and with a joint degree with Columbia University's social work school. So for me, it's always been very practical, this exploration of consciousness and humanity and both service and connection to community. So what I'm going to share a little bit is what I discovered when I went off to Sri Lanka. I did a kind of classical insight meditation, Vipassana, Theravada Buddhism style of mindfulness. I spent 9 months there on a fellowship and did this 21-day retreats, 2 of them, 3 10-day retreats, 5-day retreats, and then was also studying at a university, and had these experiences that were quite calming and clear. In fact, one 21-day retreat, I was up on a hilltop in Kandy, Sri Lanka, and finished feeling like, oh, that's it. My mind is quiet. This could be it. And got on a bus, and the bus came down through these tea plantations, kind of early afternoon, and all the people who were working there started getting on and packing the bus, as many of you may have experienced if you've been either in almost any city. And then this one guy got on, and he was totally drunk and started pushing people aside and just go coming through the bus. And I kind of moved out of the way and was very spiritual. And he kicked me right in the shin. And I all of a sudden, all this, like, what are you doing? I didn't say anything. And then he just looked at me with this big smile and just laughed. Ha, 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 ha. And all this repressed content that I'd experienced by doing a certain kind of meditation on this retreat, which was more of these jhana, concentration, calm abiding, shamatha practices that had developed a calm, all of a sudden back there I was again, pre-21 days, and going, oh no, I thought I had it. I thought something had changed permanently, but it was a meditation state, and it was wonderful. And certainly there are great meditation states, and it's one of the ways to calm the nervous system and many other positive things. But what happened is, fast forwarding to going up to India and then ending up in Nepal with a Tibetan teacher. His name was Toko Urgyen Rinpoche, who was teaching Mahamudra and Dzogchen style. And just with a small group of people, he gave this short talk and then did this one, what are called pointing out instructions of shifting awareness. And I will share a couple, I won't share that one, but a couple of others with you today, so you get a taste of this. And so within 21 minutes, instead of 21 days, I experienced the calm that I had known through the calming retreat, but then also an aliveness, a kind of open-heartedness. I was laughing and kind of crying with delight, and felt fully alive, like I had in being in the zone or in the flow consciousness. Eyes open, everything around me just felt very connected, and sense of worry and fear wasn't primary, but any emotion could arise. There was more space, more grace, more sense of support, more grounded quality. But the ground wasn't just physical or emotional or mental. It was a kind of interbeing, is what Thich Nhat Hanh calls this kind of feeling of grounded being that's connected with everyone and everything. And so that just kind of stunned me. And I, in my 20s then, just was enthusiastically asking the teacher, Toko Urgyen, through his translator, is this describing what I was experiencing? Is this it? What is, and he was like, yes, that's right. Okay. And he had been giving out these instructions because he was Rinpoche, or kind of a, like in that group of Tibetan teachers who had done three-year retreats. So these are very intensive. You sleep sitting up in a box, for much of it, and just meditating all the time, go through the visualizations, transformation of, and then get this kind of direct practice, introduction to your true nature, to nature of mind, to interconnected consciousness at the last part of the 3-year retreat, as you've kind of prepared, doing all these other kinds of mindfulness to prepare for what Toko Urgyen's is called effortless mindfulness. And what he realized at the end of 3-year retreats was that his uncle had given him this similar short pointing out instruction when he was 16, and that at the end of 3-year retreats, he said to himself and others, it's no different now than it was then. So he figured maybe people are ready. Maybe they don't need all the preparation. Maybe this is, as is taught at the end, not a cultivated practice of developing skills of meditation or even training the mind, which many different mindfulness traditions will talk about, although there is some training, some calming, some preliminary. However, what the difference is in effortless mindfulness is that the freedom, the love, the connection, the awake consciousness is already here within each of us, as each of us. And so it's already installed. And so it doesn't take development or creation or intellectual knowledge or long periods of study or long periods of meditation, initially, at least to recognize, or what I call glimpse. It just takes a shift of awareness, a kind of dropping of awareness, or an opening, kind of foreground to background, instead of looking to thought and looking to objects, looking out, looking in, just kind of a dropping, stopping, letting go, letting be, as kind of the first pointer. And then the key is it's not just about the absence of that chattering mind, or not just the space or the not knowing from the conceptual mind, but it's the next mindful move when the doer and the craver and the efforter and the thinker relax. It is recognizing and then realizing this awareness-based knowing that can move your hand and can use thought as needed, but doesn't need to orient to create a thinker in order to be alert and responsive. And then that awareness isn't just this pure awareness that some people can stop in and call non-dual awareness, kind of pure awareness or big sky mind or choiceless awareness, which is like a witness consciousness. It's like the sky in which thoughts, feelings, and sensations come and go. So that's kind of a high meditation state or transition, but it's the recognition of the awareness, which is equally outside and within. And then in this next mindful move is the curiosity of whether the movement and energy, as well as the stillness and space, are made of the same awareness. So there's not two things going on. And that's not just an intellectual experience, but these pointers and these kind of curious looking from that awake consciousness to what's arising, what's it made of, starts to move from the sky of kind of clear mind or quiet mind or awake mind to what's called one taste or same taste, simultaneous mind, which is awareness and embodied in and interconnected with everyone and everything. So that feeling doesn't diminish the relative level of physical bodies that are separate and different people that have different needs and communication skills that can be learned, nor does it, importantly, do we need to get rid of the ego or the different psychological parts of us. We don't need to fight them. We don't need to kill them. We don't need to get rid of them. We don't need to call them an illusion any more than any pattern or functional part of our human system is not truly existing. It doesn't exist ultimately, but relatively, this part of us that's the manager and the thinker is no longer who we are. So we've moved from I think, therefore I am, which is the big move here, to awareness-based knowing that is by its nature calm, clear, accepting, but also curious, loving, and embodied and interconnected. So it's not a spiritual bypass to just go to this pure awareness. It's the coming back to this capacity to interconnect and interrelate with the different parts of us that have been, and here's where kind of extending this model into the contemporary world, bringing it into neuroscience and psychology, see where there are similarities and see where there can be kind of learning of, the ultimate goal of meditation is initially relief of suffering at every level: physical, mental, emotional, existential, spiritual, social, and universal. So that suffering caused by that small attempt to create this the stronger, faster thinking, smarter, more capable manager or ego center or small self, whatever that's called, that constellation of consciousness that thought goes to thought, self-references, creates this little feeling of me that then we're not just getting rid of that or going to a blank space, but we're thanking that part for all its hard work, for trying to drive the vehicle, and instead letting it know that there's some bigger, wiser, more vast and pervasive, loving ground of being, or self with a capital S, or no self, true nature, nature mind, whichever you want to call it, from whatever tradition. So here's where it all kind of meets in the wisdom traditions in experience, because an experience means beyond experience means direct realization. And realization isn't intellectual, philosophical insight. It's literally a orientation instruction of where you're aware from and what is the relationship to what's arising. Feels differently, not feels from the five senses, not feels from belief, not feels from thought or will or sensation, but the awareness-based loving flow is the ground that includes everything and then can also welcome and deal with the imperfection of human life and difficulties that are happening as they will in this human life and realm. So that, all that to say, let's try a little inquiry, or what's called pointer or inquiry. This one's an inquiry practice. There's many different ones. I don't know. I have, like, my main interest is in creating them that work for different learning styles. So I have hundreds of them, but some of them work well or lead you different types of learners and knowers and not knowers and unlearners to have this direct recognition and then realization and then familiarization and then living from awake consciousness, and others don't work as well. So this one is an inquiry style, and it starts with the premise that I've been speaking about, which is that almost like it's a developmental stage awakening, that we started with being dependent and not knowing, just having to be taken care of as a baby. And then we develop language and thought, and we internalize that and create different types of consciousness and awareness, and ego function becomes ego identity. And what's called self-awareness in psychology is that second voice that says, don't touch the hot stove, don't, it's great, it's a red light, don't cross the street. I want to, no. So that internal thought-based small self is not bad or wrong. It's just a way of operating. And so when that constellation of consciousness, developmentally, its main interest is in safety, survival, connection, and pleasant connection, whether it's physical or emotional or mental, trying to become happy through only what it knows. Yeah. So it's always trying to solve this problem of what's wrong in here, what's wrong out there. Is there danger in here? Is there danger out there? So that little problem solver that scans for danger gets anxious and worried and neurotic and overly, or it shuts down into depression or into a role where people just play a role in life, just one role. Okay, hello, I'm the worker today. And then they play maybe another role with friend or partner. And then a lot of the early childhood misunderstandings, pain, trauma is repressed. And the small self doesn't have the capacity to bear what seems to be unbearable. It's too small and too mental to handle the healing and the liberation of the held contents. So we need to upgrade in order to come back to solve the problems that the problem solver is so worried about. So assuming there's this problem solver, and in the background is this awareness that's equally spacious and pervasive, you can just start this inquiry by understanding the words. And then as you understand the words, the key is not to look for the answer in the past, in thought, in memory, but to allow awareness to feel or look, to see what's here now. So you're shifting, awareness is unhooking from the mind and dropping, opening to a subtler dimension. So here's the inquiry. There's no need to prepare anything, but just be curious. So what's here now when there's no problem to solve? And just let that little chatter or struggle maybe happen, and understanding of it and looking for the answer. And then let the problem solver relax. What's this? What's aware? Where are you aware from when there's no problem to solve? You just notice what it's like when you don't orient to thought and yet are alert. You rest without going to sleep. So just directly realize this effortless mindfulness from this nature of mind, awareness-based, alert, here. So curious. Continue this inquiry from the awareness. What's here when there's no problem to solve? So just feel that problem solver relax, and then just notice this more open mind, open heart. This awareness. What's it like to be aware of this? And then what's it like to rest as this alert awareness, this effortless mindfulness? Just for a moment. And then what's it like resting as this awareness? To be aware as this and from this. What's the relationship to vibration, energy, thoughts, feeling, your body, and the room? But if everything is included, then everything's welcome, inside and out. And just resting as this alert with the potential, you could move your hand from here. You could intentionally think a thought, you could intentionally remember your phone number. And then once thought is used, just like your hand, you can put your hand down and you can let go and not associate to the next thought or to a judgment or to a part of you that maybe they're commenting, but you stay home and don't get on the train of thought and don't blend with any part that wants to check, wants to give an opinion, second opinion about what's here, or be wanting to help or apply it to the future. So just hanging out and noticing these simple dimensions of consciousness that are here, and there's a potential to immediately shift into once you feel that it is awareness that's actually the tuner that can unhook and drop or unhook and open and then include everything. So there's this fullness of being. So we're not escaping, we're not staying in our head, we're not just doing psychological work. We're finding this capacity that then we can see, how do you feel from here toward everything in the room, toward your body as part of you, towards thinking, and even a thinker or a commentator as part of you. But what was the subject is now objects of consciousness from this holistic being, or whatever you want to call it, because that's where the words begin to be your own. And that's why something like Theosophy, which includes all different ways of languaging this, which is beyond language, is so important to allow yourself to find the best felt sense words that describe how you return home and how you express and live from here, and know when you get caught in whatever you call the other operating system, and then return and upgrade to this open mind and open heart. Yeah. So that this heart mind is the new centerless center that is available for living from. So the key is, with this kind of inquiry, what's here now when there's no problem to solve? What's it like to be aware of this? What's it like to rest as this? And what's the relationship as this awareness to vibration, sensation, feelings, thoughts, your body, and the world? Without going out to the world, without just looking inside, feeling that there's an open panoramic view, so awareness has your back, and you're rising like a wave in the ocean of awake consciousness, and then looking out at other waves arising. And so the key question are, where are you aware from, if not here? What does it feel like? And that perception, that new perception, is one of the markers that you're not disembodied, but you're not head-centered. You're not only looking from a point of view in your head, and you're not even looking from a point of view as a meditator, but you're kind of opening up to this field that is kind of centerless and yet embodied, open-hearted, interconnected naturally. So you're not creating it through imagination or belief, but just curiously moving, and then like an experiment. So this really, in some ways, is a hypothesis that has been developed by wisdom traditions. Okay, so we'll try one more glimpse practice. So this one, just as we did an inquiry, what's here now when there's no problem to solve, when you slow it down, you start to realize that what moved or what looked was this awareness. So this glimpse practice is starting to recognize this tuner of local awareness and have it unhook. And this time we're going to drop within to our jaw, to our throat, and then below our neck to what is often called the heart space. Go deep within to the subtlest dimension, which then opens up to this kind of heart mind or open awake consciousness. Yeah, so let's try this as a pointer. Some people like first one, some people like this one. So the first one we kind of went out, and this one we're kind of going in, right? The kingdom of heaven within. So just feeling that center, so that you start to feel when you're operating from that small self or mini me. As I'm talking and you're listening, just where is the hearer? And find that constellation that forms habitually. But then notice that awareness is identified or attached to that, made of it actually. but that local awareness can separate and look back to what's here when there's no problem to solve. Or now it can kind of unhook and open to the space around. Just notice that sense of immediate disidentification or unhooking or letting go. And then notice that awareness can also drop within. So you're not looking down using attention, but literally feel your decentering and feeling your awareness is aware of your jaw and your smile from within. Then feel as if awareness can drop and notice your throat and neck, the vibration, effervescent aliveness, space, and awareness directly from within. So not having to look back up to thought or stretch it down, but begin to feel this direct perception from the field of awareness that is also able to focus and know directly. So the subject and object are both in the same location as this awareness drops below your neck into your body. So the awareness is aware from all around, from your feet and your head, and now focusing from this heart space as it drops into like a living stream, and then subtler and subtler, dropping into a safe space. Not your physical heart, but the subtlest dimension of consciousness, and just rest here. So you're aware of your heart space, and now rest as your heart space, heart mind. And now be aware from this effortlessly mindful field of awareness, but also some joy and love qualities that are naturally here as the primary dimension of our essential consciousness. So that awareness that's in this heart space can feel not only in the front, but in the middle of your heart space and all the way to the back. And then curiously notice if that globe of awareness can go back behind your back until it moves at the speed of awareness, until it finds the awareness that's already aware by itself without your help. Mingling into that field of awareness that then, like an ocean of awareness, is naturally arising as your body, like a wave, and opening to look out of the eyes of your heart, to feel this interconnection. So just notice what it's like to kind of stay home, not pop back up to thought, and not go back to the mind for a second opinion, go back to the small thinking mind for a second opinion. You can look around, knowing that sound is coming to your ears and light is coming to your eyes, receiving like a periscope and coming down to this heart mind. So I think I'll leave you with this. From here, you can begin to talk and walk and type, create and relate in a way that feels real and true. Some of you may feel this kind of tenderheartedness as I am today. So it allows this foundation of gratitude and compassion to be present and more capacity to feel without being overwhelmed. So thank you all for being here today. It's good to have a chance to share this with you, and I hope to meet you all sometime in the future.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that presentation, and I'd like to invite you to join us again Thursday next week when we will have Glenn Keswer speaking on You Were Born to Know You Were Not Born, a convergence of science and spirituality. I hope you will be able to join me then. In the meantime, stay safe and be well. Good night to you all.